Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network, 29 stations across the great state of Michigan, and, of course, the podcast version of the show available anywhere in the world, literally anywhere in the world that you can get a cell signal or an internet connection. And isn't that just about anywhere these days? You can listen to the podcast version of the show. I'm glad to have you along with us. And I have to wish you a happy Father's Day weekend. What would our world be like without our dads, right? Now, some of us, our dads are still here. Others, they are not. My dad is enjoying another Father's Day in heaven. So happy Father's Day to you, Dad. Happy Father's Day to my dad, my father-in-law, Jury, my son, James. And if you are a dad, happy Father's Day weekend to you as well. I don't know what your relationship with your dad is or was. Mine was very interesting. He was a cop for like 35 years, so that's the perspective I'm coming from. So he was not a real vocal guy. He was not a real outwardly affectionate guy. He was an old school man's man, right? Which sometimes caused some interesting interactions. But he is the guy who taught me how to hunt. He is the guy who taught me how to fish. He is the guy who helped instill in me a love and a passion and a desire and a craving for the outdoors. So I have to thank him for that. He taught me how to brook trout fish. Small creeks. I know they're creeks, but I call them cricks. I grew up fishing Cedar Creek, drifting night crawlers for brook trout. We used to go over to the Rogue River and fish browns once in a while. And then he got me hooked on big lake fishing. We spent a lot of time, a lot of hours, caught a lot of fish on Lake Michigan, Muskegon, Ludington, Manistee, Frankfort. That's what we did every weekend during the summer, and for 2 straight weeks during a summertime vacation, we fished salmon. And he's the guy who got me hooked on that. He also used to come over on my side of the state and fish Saginaw Bay walleye once in a while. And that was a real pleasure to get him over on my water. And he taught me certain things that have become my cardinal rules, right? Well, he didn't teach me this one. This one is mine. Never cancel a fishing trip or any outdoor adventure based on a weather forecast. That is a cardinal rule of mine. I abide by that. I never break that rule. Except for last week, I broke that rule. I had a trip scheduled. Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats, Ross Elliott, Brent James, and Glenn Venner. I was to take them out fishing for a day of walleye fishing on Saginaw Bay as part of the Real Men Wear Pink campaign from last year. You know that the breast cancer fight is very near and dear to my heart. I've had too many people in my lives lost to this and affected by this. So I gave away an online fishing trip. And those guys, even though they are friends of mine and could fish with me for free anytime they want, they ponied up the money and came up with a good amount of money. And so I was going to take them out last week. And then the weather forecast started getting a little bit squirrely. It was like borderline. It was like, okay, we're going to have northeast winds, but they're not going to be too bad. And then the forecast kept saying it was going to get worse and worse and worse. And I thought, well, it's fishable, but it's not going to be comfortable. Went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Eventually pulled the plug on that trip based on a weather forecast of some pretty gusty northeast winds, which on Saginaw Bay is not what you want. And you know what happened. You know what happened. the weather forecast was wrong. And that day would have been a very, very fishable day. So number one, cardinal rule, do not cancel a trip based on a weather forecast until it gets to be like 9 o'clock the night before and it's calling for 30-mile-an-hour winds. Well, then you might be able to. But these iffy forecasts, don't do it. Here's one of the things my dad taught me, don't leave fish to find fish. Another one of my cardinal rules. Guess what? I broke that one too. I was out with my buddy Tony. It was a fairly good northeast wind. I mean, the Angler Quest could handle it. It was a pretty good chop, but I got on top of him, trimmed the bow up. You can run over those waves, but it was bumpy. I wanted to get to a spot about 8 miles offshore. I got about 6 miles, said, you know what, let's just shut down here. We'll see if there are any fish here, and we'll see what it looks like. Well, we shut down, and lo and behold, there's fish all over the place on the graph. Lots of fish. So we put out some baits, started trolling, picked up a few fish, but we're marking a ton of fish. For some reason, I still wanted to get to my spot, which was another 2 or 3 miles off to the northeast. Now, keep in mind, we are slowly picking up fish, and we're marking a ton of fish, and for some reason, I got a wild hair. I broke my cardinal rule, and I trolled. I wasted an hour or so to get to my spot, only to find there were no fish there. And we had to turn around and troll back. We could have run back, but we trolled back. And when we got to where we had originally shut down about an hour and a half earlier, we got back into fish. Cardinal rule number 2, don't leave fish to find fish. You'd think now, at almost 62 years old, that I would know enough not to break my own cardinal rules. Don't cancel a trip based on a weather forecast, and don't leave fish to find fish. Another one of my cardinal rules, and this came from my dad, is always run a high line. Always fish on top, up shallow. You're not going to mark those fish, but maybe they're cruising up there. That one, thank you, Lord, I didn't break. I've been running a bait up on top. Maybe not catching fish with it, but at least I'm abiding by one of my 3 cardinal rules of fishing. Actually, what we've been doing lately is been running a number 3 Magnum offshore tadpole off the back corners of the Angler Quest. Now I'm running offshore boards out to the sides, the OR12s with the tattle flags. I always run those out to the sides. But when fish are really deep and I can't get the flicker shads down to them, because flicker shad's going to max out about 14 feet or so, I've been taking those number 3 Magnum tadpoles, running them as down rods on the back corners of the Angler Quest, running a spoon behind them, and running them almost like a bottom bouncer. And the way that is, if you fish crawlers, you know how you set up a bottom bouncer. You free spool it to the bottom, you engage it, you let your forward motion swing the bait back, you free spool it again till it hits the bottom a second time, and then you lock it in. We've been doing that with spoons behind those tadpoles and having a fair amount of success, enough that it's become one of my go-to baits. If I have enough people on the boat that I can run more rods, I'm going to run those Magnums or number 3s, more likely number 3s, tadpoles off the back corners, almost as bottom bouncers with spoons, sometimes a flicker shad behind them, but more often with spoons behind them. And that's turning out to be a pretty good tactic. I'm not sure. No, I am sure. I am sure that we as folks who love the outdoors will never master this way of life that we love. And that's one of the appeals. As many years as I have fished big water, as many hours as I spend out there, as many fish as I've caught out there, as much time as I've thought thinking about it when I'm not on the water, as much time as I've spent experimenting with techniques and tactics and areas, you never truly have a handle on it, right? You never truly have it dialed in every day of the week all the time. And I like that because it continues to challenge us, continues to test us. The last time I was on the water, and as we are recording the show, which was just yesterday, I struggled. I had a really hard time. We got 8 fish, and we fished hard. And the fishing in that area had been great. I'm running the same area, the same tactics, the same techniques. I talked to my buddies out there. It was slow for them, too. So it was just one of those days. But I did have a wonderful discovery this week, though. I discovered sunglasses with built-in cheater lenses in the bottom of the lens. And it has changed my world. I can now see to tie knots in my baits. I can now see to unhook snap swivels and rehook snap swivels. And I've been having a terrible time with that lately. The eye injury was causing me some problems, but it's all healed up now. Now I'm just dealing with old eyes. I'm telling you what, sunglasses with built-in cheater lenses have changed my days on the water. For the better. So I'm a pretty happy guy. Hey, at this point in my life, it doesn't take that much to make me happy. Got to take a break here on the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, Gary Summers, president of the Michigan Bow Hunters, will join me, then Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News. In hour number 2, we're talking bass fishing with Jerry Gostinek. Nick Green from MUCC checks in. My Ask Avery segment with an update on my quest to eliminate the rod restrictions for trolling anglers. In hour number 3, Lance Keene talking Big Lake Michigan salmon. And Dave Miner talking wild game cooking. That's coming up on this week's show. Glad to have you along with us on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the show in Alpena on WZTK, that's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM. And north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination and your Mid-Michigan Tracker and Angler Quest headquarters. For more info, check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. And I have been thinking a lot lately about fishing, about being on the bay, about being on the river, on the water. And I'm enjoying that very much. I was really, really looking forward to going back to White River, Ontario, Canada for a bear hunt, a bow hunt. But of course, with the whole COVID situation, we cannot, get across the border. So I'm not going to be able to do that. I am looking forward to hopefully drawing a Michigan bear tag, and I will be hunting with my recurve bow, my Predator recurve bow made here in Michigan. Traditional archery has rekindled my interest, my love, even my passion for bow hunting. So I'm thinking that direction as well. Gary Summers is the president of the Michigan Bow Hunters, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Gary, welcome to the show. How are you?
Very well. How are you, Mike?
I am doing just great, and I'm glad to have you along with us. Tell us about the Michigan Bow Hunters.
Well, we were formed in 1946. Actually, Fred Bear was one of the founding members of Michigan Bow Hunters Association. What a lot of people don't know about us is there was a bunch of group of archers back in the early 40s. There was the Michigan Archers Association, and some of those archers, they weren't just target archers, but they also wanted to pursue bow hunting, but they didn't have any representation at the legislative side of it. So they had an offshoot, they formed the Michigan Bow Hunters Association. So we've been in operation since 1946, promoting and protecting bow hunting in Michigan.
And primarily a hunting group, or are you archery overall, Gary?
Yes, archery. Yep. Yeah, well, we're primarily an archery organization. We do have a lot of activities for the membership, and but the main thing is we try to take care of things, in Lansing and make sure the bow hunters get a fair shake on game laws and things that are coming up that may affect them in the field.
Well, these days, trying to stay on top of the things coming out of Lansing is a full-time job in itself, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's when I entered this job, the first thing I really learned was you take a Michigan deer hunter, and I'll tell you what a diverse group of people with different ideas, to say the least.
Well, yeah, and then you and your group have to try to represent everybody, and then you're dealing with the bureaucracy of the state. You got your hands full.
Oh, absolutely. Really got to keep on our toes and see what's coming and what's coming up in the future.
What is coming up? Any big issues you're dealing with right now?
The issues we're having right now is we're having some law changes right now, and there's some of it that I'm really concerned about, let's say, the Southern Michigan muzzleload season, what they're doing to that. I mean, we share the woods with the muzzleload folks, and because we do have that 77-day season that we petitioned for, back in the 70s and that. But what they're doing right now, I don't really agree with having the rifles with the muzzleloaders. I think it's I just feel bad for those folks that are losing their season.
Well, and that's all CWD related, isn't it?
Yes and no. And I think it's more related to the fact that we're losing hunters in numbers. A lot of hunters are starting to age out, and they need, for the resource, they do need to take animals, and they also need, in order to operate, they got to sell licenses.
Well, speaking of losing hunters, and I'm going to throw out a characterization, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I feel like Michigan bow hunters have been, I don't want to say anti-crossbow, but at least in the past not embraced crossbows, but it seems to me that if we want to stem this tide of losing hunters, crossbows are a good tool to do that, Gary.
Well, the crossbow issue is not a new issue. In our organization, we have actually, I hate to say the word be against, but we did not promote the crossbows. And that was back in 1946. Fred Bear himself said that this was not archery equipment. It's not handheld, hand-drawn, hand-released type of weapon. It's a stock weapon. And the whole premise of the first season in Michigan was we were allowed to have that season. First, we had to prove that a bow and arrow could take an animal cleanly and humanely, but we also had the perception of folks, we got to protect the resource back then. And that's and so this is not new about the crossbows. I mean, way back in the beginning, it was right in our thing that we would not do this, promote the crossbow.
Yeah.
And we were actually, people don't realize it, we were actually instrumental in getting the crossbow legalized for the physically impaired bow hunters. We were one of the proponents that allowed that to happen.
It's interesting. It's interesting that Fred Bear was against crossbows. The first time I ever saw a crossbow was at Grouse Haven, and Fred was there. So that's very interesting to me.
Yep. But back in the 40s, that's pretty much what they said. Is this is not considered bow hunting.
Is it still the case these days, though? Have you guys loosened your stance on that, or not really?
No, we haven't. We have members that use them and are still members, and the only difference is they can't put in for game awards and things like that.
Ah, gotcha.
That. But it's legal. People they're going to use what they're going to use, and that's fine. It's like if you go to a muzzleload, if you belong to a muzzleloader club, they may not want you to bring your 30-06.
Sure. No, I get that completely. Listen, I understand where you're coming from. I have hunted with a crossbow. I loved it. I have hunted with a compound. I loved it. These days, I'm using a recurve, and I really love that. So, different things for different people, and we're all at different points in our life. But whatever keeps us out there legally, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm all about being legal.
Yeah. Archery today, bow hunting today. Where are we at? I feel like in some ways the archery companies have, no pun intended, shot themselves in the foot because they let the price of these bows get so high that I think it might be interfering with people's ability to enjoy the sport.
Yeah, that's true. Manufacturing a bow, the cost has really escalated, but I think a lot of that has to do with the advancements that they've made. With a compound bow, I still have an old Dart and Trailmaster in my garage, and it was, 189 feet per second,
And at the time, you thought it was smoking fast.
Well, in reality, it was about as fast as my longbow, right?
Yeah.
But it works, But the technology has really gotten up there, and with the crossbows, it's not the crossbows of 10 years ago.
No,
there's nowhere.
No,
the technology has exploded, and with that came the money. So.
Yeah. Well, speaking of technology, has archery? Have we gone too far in archery? Is it too high tech? Is it not what it should be?
I think everybody's different. I always say whatever makes you giggle when you're shooting your archery equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Our organization, it's probably a 60-40 where folks are using their compound, and about 40% are traditional folks that shoot like you are, the recurves and the longbows, wood arrows, self bows, things like that. Myself, I've been shooting a traditional bow hunting exclusively since probably around 1988. And it was just like you, just to get the love back into archery again.
Yeah. My fear is, Gary, and you and I are about the same age. In fact, we were at Ferris at just about the same time. So I'm thinking, I'm going to continue to shoot this recurve as long as I physically can. But eventually there's going to come a point where I'm just not going to be able to do it anymore. I hope it's a long time down the road, but it's going to happen.
Yes. And the key is that people fail to understand is you can kill a deer or a bear with a 40-pound bow. As long as you got a good sharp point, nice sharp broadhead, head on contact. It's all about getting close, and I guess that's what part of the archery is to me. It's not how far I can shoot; it's how close can I get to that animal and make it personal.
It's a whole different mindset, isn't it? It's a very intimate, very up close, experience. Yeah, very personal. Absolutely. Yeah. Gabe Van Wormer of Michigan Outdoors was telling me that he loves traditional archery because his hunt begins where it used to end. If a deer got to 20 yards, it was dead with a compound. Now he needs it inside of 20 yards. And I thought that was a very interesting way of looking at it.
Yes, and I've always said that myself. I says, if I see a deer at 50 yards, my hunt is just starting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's not until he's about 15 yards out before I can put an arrow in it. So I hear people about, how hard, easy it's getting for archery. Let's face it, it's how easy do you want to make it?
Good point. We're talking with Gary Summers of the Michigan Bowhunters Association, the website MichiganBowhunters.com. That's MichiganBowhunters.com. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, continue our conversation with Gary, talking a little bit more about bow hunting today and the issues, the challenges, the rewards facing Michigan bow hunters. And then Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News will join us to wrap up this first hour of the show. Coming up in hour number 2, Jerry Gosnick talking bass fishing, Nick Green from Michigan United Conservation Clubs, and our Ask Avery segment. Coming up this week right here on Outdoor Magazine. the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK. That's 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Mount Pleasant on WMMI, AM and FM, 830 AM, 92.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Boning Archery. Michigan-based Boning has been a leader in the archery industry since the mid-'40s when Roland Boning invented Ferrule-Tite to glue broadheads to wood and aluminum arrows. These days, Boning continues to innovate, continues to come up with new products for archers and bow hunters. Think the Blazer Vanes. Next year, Boning will be celebrating their 75th anniversary in the archery business. What an accomplishment that is. How cool is that? Check them out online at boning.com. That's BOHNING.com. Boning.com. Speaking of archery, speaking of being in the archery world for a long time, the Michigan Bowhunters Association, their website, MichiganBowhunters.com. Gary Summers is the president of that organization. And Gary, isn't it cool that we have companies like Boning based right here in our great state?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All these folks in Michigan-based are just wonderful people, and they really help out the organization.
Well, and I think in a lot of ways that Michigan was, I don't want to overstep here, but kind of the birthplace of modern-day archery. I mean, Fred Bear, the father of modern-day archery, was a Michigan guy. We've got a rich history and tradition of bow hunting in our state.
Oh, we still do. I think we still do. I think a lot of different states look towards Michigan to do what we're doing, and I think it affects what they do on the legislative side when it comes to bow hunting. They want to know what Michigan is doing because of our numbers and our heritage.
What can we do to keep those numbers up, Gary? I mean, this is the battle that we're losing across the country, not just here in Michigan. You know, recruitment, retention, reinvigoration, whatever the third R is. I mean, it's a tough job.
Okay, I think. And this is my personal opinion, I think we're really missing the boat. We're doing good by getting the kids out there during the youth seasons. I think that's been helpful. The retention we'll see down the road if we can retain those kids. But I think we're really missing the boat. We have a lot of minorities, people of different ethnics who I think they don't get involved because I don't think they understand. Maybe they can't read the laws, things like that, and they're a little hesitant about getting involved in the outdoors. I really wish the NRC would look towards maybe having by the laws, like in a different language, or they can pick those up or get them online, and they can see what the regulations are, and they can feel more comfortable about going out and doing things.
You know, I got to agree with you there, and I haven't heard many other people say this, but I've been saying this for a while. I think we got to start looking at encompassing all people in the outdoors. I mean, forgive me for saying this, but the outdoors for so long, it's been a bunch of old white guys, and if we're going to continue on, we got to get everybody involved.
Oh, absolutely, and I think we really should. I think it's good for the overall scheme of conservation, and to have everybody involved.
You know, you were talking about technology. We were talking about technology in the earlier segment about how archery has become so high tech. The world of traditional archery, which you love, and I am, embracing these days as well. Isn't it cool that we could take a 40 or 50-year-old recurve or a longbow, and it's much the same as the ones being made today?
There's difference in resins and things like that and glues, but it's pretty much the same technology. I mean, you have a bow, you have a string, and the only other factor is you on the other end of the string.
Do you shoot instinctively or do you aim?
I shoot instinctively. I think everybody sight shoots a little bit in your peripheral vision, but I pretty much shoot instinctive, I believe. I just look at an object and I hit it. Hopefully. Most all the time.
I can relate to that. Are you a Michigan guy? Do you ever do out-of-state hunts?
Yeah, I hunted from Texas to Canada. I don't get out as much. I'm hoping by the time I retire, I can do more of it, as long as I'm physically able. I've hunted javelina, hogs down in Texas, deer, mule deer in South Dakota, bear hunted quite a few times in Canada, and of course, my favorite thing is the hunt in Michigan. That's my home ground.
Yeah. I really want to, I love hunting in Michigan, of course, but I have the desire to go back out west and hunt whitetails. And I really want to take my recurve, but I'm reluctant to spend that much money on a big western hunt and then have it all come down to my recurve. But I think if I shot it with anything other than my recurve, I would feel bad about it. It's kind of a dilemma I'm in right now, Gary.
Well, a great friend of mine, old friend, he said a long time ago, and I overheard a conversation, and he says, if you don't take it in the woods with you, you'll never do anything with it.
Yeah. It doesn't do any good sitting in the corner of your office, does it?
Nope, you won't get it done.
Yeah. Gary, listen,
you can't run off the couch.
I've enjoyed our conversation. I'll send people to your website, MichiganBowhunters.com, MichiganBowhunters.com. I wish you a wonderful season, and I hope our paths cross at some time in the near future.
I'm sure it will. Thank you, Mike.
All right, Gary Summers of the Michigan, but my pleasure, MichiganBowhunters.com. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, wrap up this first hour with Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News. We'll see what's going on behind the scenes at Michigan's premier outdoor publication right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on WKYO 1360 AM. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. And you can hear us in Sandusky and WMIC 660 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by MUCC's On the Ground program. OTG is a program to improve habitat for fish and wildlife across the state. For details, check out the Michigan United Conservation Club's website, MUCC.org. That's MUCC.org. Also, while you're there, a reminder, if you want to save 25% on your MUCC membership, your first-time membership or your renewal, use the promo code MIKE, all caps, M-I-K-E. All caps, to save 25% on your membership. I did that a couple of weeks ago myself. I used my own promo code to save some money. MUCC.org, use the promo code MIKE, all capitals. While you're online, of course, check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and check out the website of Woods and Water News. It's woods-and-waternews.com, Michigan's premier outdoor publication. Tom Campbell, one of the guys behind the scenes. And Tom, as we call the offices, people are back in. You're not there all by yourself anymore.
That's right, Mike. I have other people to help out now. Yeah, so we're back, slowly getting back to norm, I hope, and hope things are looking good for the state of Michigan, and we can proceed forward and get back to somewhat of a normal or a new normal, whatever we want to call it.
Well, listen, I've been thinking about you guys a lot, and the big outdoor weekend is not that far off. What are you thinking right now at this point?
Less than 3 months, Mike. Well, right now, what we're going to do, what our plans are, is we're forging ahead. We you never know in these uncertain times what can happen. So we figured our best plan is we're gonna keep planning on the 2020 September 11th, 12th, and 13th, first weekend after Labor Day, and until they tell us that we can't do it, or we find out we can't do it safely, or there's problems with how we're doing things. So, and in that case, we will put our efforts towards 2021. There won't be a postponement because of obviously our timing.
Yeah,
the date is valuable, and there's really no place to move. It's unfortunate this year we even happened to hit on the youth hunt as they bumped the youth hunt up a week to get away from bear season.
Don't they know when your outdoor weekend is, Tom? You'd think the DNR would work around you guys.
That's Right, exactly. But nobody, they didn't call us. I can't believe it. Yeah.
I see that with a lot of groups, though. They schedule these events based on seasons, and then the DNR, NRC change the seasons, and it screws everything up.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. But, we got some ideas that we can include some things, and we might do a picture board. It's too tough to do a youth buck hunt because of the weather conditions. We might do some fun stuff and try to entice some youth to come in after their hunt or in between hunts. But we'll do that.
Well, in the meantime, you've still got some magazines to put out.
Yeah, our July issue is out on the newsstand as we speak, Mike. We're getting there. It's on its way. We just completed it last week, and should be in everybody's mail coming out soon. And we're kind of excited to get back kind of a norm. And the front cover has an extremely mean-looking walleye on the cover, so we're hoping everybody picks that up and it catches everybody's eyes.
Extremely mean-looking walleye. I can't wait to see this cover now.
Yeah, it's a great shot. Mark Romanek did it, shared it for us, and it looks great. And of course, the inside's loaded with great walleye, great walleye stories, tactics. In fact, the title Mark did himself. It's using bass tactics to catch more walleye. That's a great idea. And of course, Kenny Darwin did one on big water walleye, and we even have Mike Nadkowski did a walleye piece on going meatless, which, plastics has changed walleye fishing quite a bit in the last few years, and he addresses that issue. And we even have a walleye casting jigs, a little change up instead of just jigging with jigs. So,
well, I tell you what,
lots of walleye.
I had Nat on my boat last summer, and we did not run any meat. So I'm thinking everything he's using in that article he picked up from me that day.
There you go. Written by Mike Nadkowski and by Mike Avery. See?
I'm going to give him some grief over that one.
You should, absolutely. He probably gave up all your secrets, Mike.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Isn't it interesting, though? I mean, how, and I get accused of this all the time because I'm a walleye guy, but isn't it interesting how popular walleye fishing is now in our state?
Yeah, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible, and I think what we just talked about, all those different ways of catching walleyes, is making it popular, and then there's that other added incentive that they are probably close to one of the best tasting fish we have in our state. Yeah. So, that adds to the drama of catching walleye as well.
But I know you guys don't ignore the salmon guys, the bluegill guys, the bass guys and gals. You cover it all, and that's one of the reasons I love Woods and Water News. Tom, always a pleasure. I'll look forward to seeing that July edition.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Tom Campbell of Woods and Water News, the website woods-n-waternews.com. As he says, look for the July edition. I got to see what Nadkowski said. I got to see if he did give up some of my secrets. I have no secrets. And Nat was very much aware. I'm just joking. Nat was very much aware of how to catch walleye without running meat before he ever stepped on my angler quest. I'm still going to give him some grief. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, we're going to talk bass fishing here in Michigan with Jerry Gostinek of Great Lakes Bass Fishing, and then Nick Green from MUCC, and we'll wrap up the hour with this week's Ask Avery segment. Coming up in the second hour of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Yes, indeed. This is the big guy, Mike Avery, and welcome to hour #2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. So glad to have you along with us. Here on the radio show, this is first and foremost a radio show, a 3-hour weekly program dedicated to the outdoors here in the great state of Michigan. Hunting and fishing and shooting and camping and sometimes wildlife issues, conservation issues, some wild game cooking built in as well. And I always say the best way to listen to Outdoor Magazine Radio, if you can, is on your local radio station. There you get your local news and weather and even your local commercials. Maybe there's a sale or an ad or something you want to take advantage of. But if you can't hear all 3 hours, if you're a local affiliate, and we have 29 of them across the state, by the way, if your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, God forbid, you can still hear the program as a podcast. Now, podcasting is a hot word these days. It's a real hot item. Everybody has a podcast, and I think that's wonderful. Podcasting is a great tool to reach people inexpensively, and it gives anybody a voice to reach an audience. So I'm all in favor of podcasting. I do a lot of podcasts. I have an Outdoor Magazine podcast network. You can find that on my website at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Do podcasts for Angler Quest, Killer Food Plots, Jay Sporting Goods, Offshore Tackle, Polar Craft Boats, Quest Pontoons. And we do this every month. And by the way, there are new podcasts on the website right now for Killer Food Plots and Angler Quest Boats as well. If you can't hear the radio show, you can hear the podcast several places, including my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Also on the Mike Avery Outdoors Facebook page, Avery Outdoors on my Twitter feed. It's on the LinkedIn news feed. It's on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podcast. I even put it up on YouTube. Yes, we have a version of the radio show that is audio only on YouTube. I know it seems crazy, but I do that as well. Regardless of how you are listening to the show, I do certainly appreciate it. Glad to have you along with us. We are blessed here in Michigan to have some of the best fishing in the country. And I'm thinking about, obviously, salmon fishing, right? Our especially Lake Michigan this year is just on fire. Some world-class muskie fishing, think Lake St. Clair. Walleye fishing, I mean, my goodness, between Lake Erie and Saginaw Bay, we've got that covered. Great panfish, and then sometimes we can even stumble into some nice jumbo perch. But let's not forget about bass fishing. And I have to be honest, I sometimes do, because I'm not a bass fisherman. I tend to overlook that. But I'm really, pun intended, missing the boat here, because Michigan is has some of the best bass fishing in the country. And nobody knows that better than Jerry Gostinek. Jerry is a fishing guide who specializes in bass fishing. You can learn more on his website, GreatLakesBassFishing.com. And he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Jerry, glad to have you along with us.
Good to be on again.
So where do we find you? Sounds like you're driving.
Yeah, we are in Bayport.
Oh, you're going to fish Saginaw Bay?
Yep, we decided to try a little bit of different water. I've got a group of guys in town from Georgia for 4 days, and we spent the first 2 on St. Clair, and we made the drive up this morning, and literally just sort of getting started here.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And how was the action on Lake St. Clair?
It was good. We've caught, 40 or so per day each day. So these guys have been up to Saginaw before with me, so we're gonna mix it up and try to do something a little different here.
Now, you say, when you said a 40-fish day, in your voice, I kind of sensed maybe a little bit of disappointment. Is that not what you would like?
Well, if you hit it right, last week the spawn sort of peaked over there, and we were catching 80 a day. So, you know what I mean? They're sort of getting in their in-between phase, which can mean a little bit tougher fishing. But these guys have been up here with me before and caught 100 fish a day on Lake St. Clair. So,
you spoiled them, Jerry.
Yeah, that's the problem. So it's beautiful out here on the bay. I mean, we decided to drive up because it's going to be dead flat calm. So,
you talk about these fish going post-spawn. Does that make them harder to catch?
It does. they're sort of recuperating from the spawn, and they're filtering out into their deeper sections, and they're in transition, and a lot of times they don't eat real well.
How long will this slow period last?
A couple weeks. I mean, generally on St. Clair, the summer fishing really starts getting going, after the holiday weekend, maybe mid-July, and it's really, really good for a couple months in the summertime. So,
are you looking at water temp? Are you looking at water temp? Is that something you keep a close eye on?
It is, but I mean, you can just tell a lot of fish have left their bedding areas, and they're not real shallow anymore. So right now I'm looking at my gauge out here on the bay at 71.2. So I haven't been up here since last year. So
your first trip.
Yeah, a couple hours to get up to speed with what's happening here, and it won't take long. I put in enough time up here where I can figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah. What are the ethics of fishing bass on the beds?
Well, hey, some people don't like it at all. For me, it's catch and immediate release. Catch him, put him back, he goes right back there. Kind of what a lot of people, and myself in particular, don't like is catching him off the nest, hauling him around all day for a tournament, letting him go 10 miles from the place. The bed's done. That fish won't, there won't be any new ones produced out of that nest. And when you got 50, 60, 70 boats on one lake doing that, it's certainly not good for the overall health of the fishery.
How did you get into guiding, and why bass? Why not some other species?
You know what? Because I wasn't, back in the day, I fished a lot of tournaments, and I was doing it on the weekends and started guiding on the weekends, and that's just kind of how things worked out for me. I never walleye fished a lot. I wasn't interested in perch fishing or, some of the more popular charter species, and, that's just kind of the way things worked out for me.
And where do your clients come from?
All over the country. These guys are here from Tennessee and Georgia. So, and this is their... How many times you guys been up here? 7th time up here. So, if that tells you anything.
It does. It tells me we have a good reputation for great bass fishing across the country.
It does. And I've got clients from all over the country here, and it's a wonderful state, and with all this virus stuff that's happened, it's put a dent in my season for sure, just like most of the sharks.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think everybody's. Now, are you after largemouth or smallies?
We're after smallies up here today. And as soon as we hang up and we're done, I'm boogieing out to the Charity Islands. So
now you're giving up. You're giving up your honey holes, Jerry.
Well, that's a big area out there too. So you got to have the right weather to get out there as well.
Well, today would be the day, wouldn't it?
Yep, it's a dead flat calm out here, which you don't get on the bay very often. So we're gonna take advantage of it.
How are the bugs?
Nothing right now.
When you were down on Lake St. Clair, is that a smallmouth fishery or is that largemouth?
It's 90% smallies there. So it's a unique system on the Great Lakes. If you look at the geography and how things are laid out there, you basically got a giant wide spot in between the St. Clair River and the Detroit River, and the maximum depth is only 20 feet, and there's constant current flow through it, and it's one of the things that make it such a great fishery. And as far as the way the Great Lakes are laid out, it's a very, very unique system there. There's nothing else like it.
So is our bass fishery in Michigan, is it primarily a smallmouth fishery?
I think that most of the people that come here from out of town, that's what they're targeting. These guys that are here from down south, they don't have the opportunity to catch smallmouth down there. So within the bass fishing community, Michigan has a super reputation for smallmouth. You know, we've got a couple national anglers, Mark Zona and Kevin Van Dam, that do a lot of shows up here, and you know, they bring the place a lot of national attention, and guys like myself sort of benefit from that because, you know, those guys don't guide. And when people do some research on it, I'm you know, myself and a couple others are the ones that they contact to come up here and fish.
Well, good for you. Good for you. Hey, listen, I got to take a break. I know you want to make the run to charities, but can you give me a few more minutes, Jerry?
No problem.
All right, we'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. We'll let Jerry Gostinek get back in touch with his clients who are on the boat with him right now. He's on Saginaw Bay. He spent the last couple of days fishing Lake St. Clair. He's got anglers from the south up here to take advantage of our wonderful smallmouth fishery. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about that, the difference between largemouth and smallies, and much more right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Super Talk 1570, WWCK. And north of the bridge in Ishpeming, WIAN, 1240 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Speedy Blaze. Speedy Blaze is a safe, clean, water-resistant alternative to firewood. It's safe to cook over because it's made from recycled hardwood. Check them out online at speedyblaze.com. That's speedyblaze.com for your campfire, for your fireplace, for your grill, for your cook stove, for your fire ring. Speedyblaze.com. Check them out and tell me what you think. I've heard nothing but great comments from people who are now being introduced to Speedy Blaze, a family-owned Michigan-based company. And you know I love that, speedyblaze.com. While you are online, I would encourage you to check out the website, GreatLakesBassFishing.com. GreatLakesBassFishing.com is the website of bass fishing guide Jerry Gostinek. He's one of he's certainly one of the most well-known bass fishermen in Michigan. He's on Saginaw Bay as we're talking right now. He has clients here from the south. And Jerry, what are you doing right now? I mean, are you up in the marinas? Are you out in the bay proper? Walk us through what you're doing.
We literally just pulled over so we could do the show here. We just launched at the Bayport BNR launch, and we're going to hang tight until we're through here, and then we're going to zip out.
Well, listen, I appreciate your time. You're being very generous. So once you hit the water, you're heading right for the charities.
Correct.
What is there out there waiting for you?
Well, there's big spawning shoals out there. A lot of fish, spawn out there, and they're pretty easy to catch this time of the year. And out there, we're right here close to the ramp, and the water's, pretty dingy in here. It looks like they had an algae bloom, so you can't see real well. And once you get out by the charities there, the water's crystal clear. You get a lot of influence from the outer bay, and it's very, very clear water out there.
Where those Lake St. Clair fish have already spawned, might there be fish still spawning out there at the charities?
Well, as a rule of thumb, the further north you come in Michigan, the more behind the spawn is. So, we saw fish spawning, some yesterday on St. Clair, not many, but if they're spawning down there, you can bet they're spawning up here.
And you go quite a ways north in Michigan. You've been known to hit up in the Traverse City area and spend some time up there too.
I did 5 days at Burton Mullet already this year. So, for me, the nice thing about coming up north is just the lack of traffic on the water, and just getting out of the big city for a few days for me breaks things up, and it's nice. I drive my boat through downtown Detroit traffic every single day, and, to be up at Traverse City or Burton Mullet and have a couple mile drive to the ramp, and, just the total lack of people makes it a nice break for me.
Well, you're getting the city traffic that you have to drive through, but then on like Lake St. Clair, once you get out there, there's a lot of boats out there.
It can be busy, but just like a lot of places, the big cities where the money's at, and where people are at, and most of the population in the state of Michigan lives down there, so there's a lot of demand for business down there. So, kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Well, I get you. So how is, say, if you're on Bird or Mullet Lake, how do you approach that differently than you would a Saginaw Bay or a Lake St. Clair?
Well, inland lakes are generally laid out a little bit different, but most of the inland lakes on Michigan fish the same no matter where you're at. You're either up on the flats or you're just off of the break line, for the bass. And, we have tannic water lakes, and we've got ultra gin clear lakes like Charlevoix and Burton Mullet. And, all of those fish almost identical. So a lot of it is the flats and, the weed spots up on the flats. And, every little lake's got its different nuances, but they both basically fish all the same.
So once you figure out how a plan of attack on one lake, you could take that to another body of water?
Absolutely. And they're not going to be that much different,
Let's talk about largemouth versus smallies. You say your clients right now can catch largemouth whenever they want, but the smallies are kind of rare down there.
Yeah, you don't have very many good smallmouth fisheries down south. We actually got one on right now. As we're just waiting here, it's probably close to a 4-pound smallie right now.
No kidding.
Yep.
Well, that's a trophy in most people's book, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good fish right here. I'm looking at him right now. So we wouldn't have had this fish on, Mike, if we didn't stop for the show.
Well, that's wonderful. Hey, listen, can you take a quick picture and send it to me, and I'll put it online and tell people this is the fish you guys caught?
Yep, I will.
Oh, that'll be perfect. So what did you catch him on, Jerry?
What do you get, Terry? A drop shot? Drop shot.
Not being a bass guy, tell me more about that. What is that?
It's kind of like a perch rig. The weight is below the hook, and you basically have like a 1/4 ounce weight, and then you have the hook about 12 inches up the line, and that's it. It's basically a glorified perch rig.
Is that
we only have one hook?
Is that what you will use out at the charities too?
Yeah, we will. We'll throw some spinner baits out there and stuff, but the finesse baits work real well out there.
So, do you fish smallies and largemouth the same way?
No, not really. I mean, largemouth tend to hang around a lot of weeds, and smallies, especially out here in Saginaw Bay, based on where you're fishing, anything on the inside around the reeds and cattails, that's where you're going to catch your largemouth. And then the open water stuff, the rocks and shoals and stuff like that are where you're going to have smallmouth. So let's get a quick picture, Terry. There we go. Got it.
Perfect.
So you can really target your species based on where you're fishing. So you're not going to catch largemouth out at the Charity Islands.
Gotcha. So it's not a matter of you fish them using different tactics. You're just fishing them in different water.
Correct.
And how do they react? I mean, they're both good fighters, right?
They are, but smallmouth tend to be more aggressive. They tend to fight harder, and largemouth may fight a little bit initially, but as far as jumping in the fight, smallmouth are much more exciting.
I love catching smallies on Saginaw Bay when I'm trolling for walleye because you see the fish jump before you ever even know you've got them on.
Sure. You got any good spots for me?
Yes, I do. Real close to the mouth of the Saginaw River, but I'm sure there's spots you already know.
That's a boat ride from where we're at.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a long ways. But no, listen, no farther than that run to the Charities, but with that boat you're running, I suspect you can be out there in no time.
Yeah, I'm running a Ranger 620 deep V walleye type boat with a brand new Mercury Pro XS 4-stroke on it. So, and I got a little kicker for security.
Yeah, when you make it run that far, and thank God it's a Merc and not an Evinrude, huh?
Well, we'll see how they handle their warranty and the customers they currently have, but we'll see how that ends up playing out. There's rumors that somebody else may take just the engine over. So
isn't that a shame, though, when you see a company that's been around that long in the outdoor industry, or any industry, in fact, to have that happen? What a shame.
It is. I mean, I can remember my grandpa having an old Johnson, and that's just what happens with big business these days.
Yeah, I think unfortunately it is. So listen, Jerry, if somebody goes to your website, GreatLakesBassFishing.com, can they book a trip with you through the website?
No, they can't. The best way to get a hold of me is to either call me or text me.
Do you feel comfortable giving out the number?
Oh, if I didn't, I wouldn't be in business.
That's what I'm thinking. Go ahead.
It's on my website.
Okay.
313-319-0100, and I'm usually on the water every day, so calls in the middle of the day, it's probably better to text me, and then my general schedule is I return all those calls and texts on my commute home from the lake.
How is your summer shaping up? Do you have any openings?
I have some, but I've also got a couple partners that work with me and handle my overflow, and they're great guys as well, and we pretty much work together every day. So if I personally can't do it, my partners Joe Bauer and Jeff Hamilton are absolutely qualified to handle them.
Well, there aren't that many of you guys out there, are there? I mean, compared to walleye or salmon guys, you're certainly in the minority.
No, I mean, we're sort of in a little niche here. I mean, we don't live bait fish. We're not a charter boat, so to speak. We sort of cater to, the advanced bass angler tournament crowd and people who want to fish artificial baits.
When you made that transition from tournament fishing to guiding, what was that like?
It wasn't hard, so I kind of was doing both at the same time anyway. So it wasn't hard at all, and this is year 25 for me as a guide. And, what makes the job fun for me is the people that I get to fish with all the time. These guys here have become friends of mine that I'm with right now, and I enjoy spending, my days with them. It makes it fun, and, when you do something as long as I have, it's the people involved that keep you going.
Well, and when you do something as long as you have, it points out that you do it very well. So, Jerry, I appreciate your time. Congrats on your success so far, and I wish you many, many more years out there on the water.
All right, Mike. Thanks for having me on. Anytime, buddy.
All right. Have a good run to the charities. I'll look forward to seeing that picture.
Where do you want me to send that picture?
Just text it to me on the number I texted you from earlier.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Jerry.
Bye-bye.
Jerry Gostinik of Great Lakes Bass Fishing, his website, GreatLakesBassFishing.com, GreatLakesBassFishing.com. I can't tell you, Charlie, think about this, the number of times we've had people on the air and they've caught fish. I think that we bring people good luck. I think when people take the time to take a break in their fishing to actually talk with me here on the radio show, God rewards them by giving them a fish. I wish he would reward me more sometimes. No, it's been a good summer. I'm just a little bummed because my last trip out was actually pretty slow. But I'm going to be out there tomorrow. And isn't that the case? I'm optimistic for tomorrow. And that's the thing about these outdoor passions, right? You don't have to catch something or kill something to have a great day, but it's a nice reward once in a while. And there's always the thought that the next time on the water or in the woods could be the most memorable you've ever had. We'll take a break. When we come back, Amy Trotter of MUCC right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Tawas on WIOS, AM and FM, 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. You can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux on ESPN 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Great Lakes Charter Training. If you've ever wanted to be a charter captain, I am absolutely convinced this is the best way to get that license. This is the route that I went to get my master's license from the Coast Guard. Intensive 9-ish day classes. but they guarantee that you will get your license, or they guarantee you will pass the Coast Guard test. And that's not an easy thing to do. I could not have done it without them. Captain Mel Stackpool does a great job. John Littlefield actually taught my class. Kudos to both of them. Check them out online at glctraining.com. That's glctraining.com. While you are online, I would encourage you to check out the website of the Michigan United Conservation Clubs, mucc.org. By the way, you can save 25% on your membership at that website using the promo code Mike, all caps, M-I-K-E. Amy Trotter, Executive Director of MUCC, joins me now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Amy, welcome back. How are you?
Very good. Thank you.
So, listen, I've had a lot of people ask me lately, what's the status of the whole commercial fishing bill that got so much attention earlier, and I really don't know what to tell them, Amy.
Yeah, so certainly with the COVID-19 pandemic, we weren't really sure that it was gonna get taken up again, because certainly there are some very big pressing budget issues and other response things that are also going through right now. But then just in the last 2 weeks, we've actually had 2 hearings on the bills, and these are the conservation-led bills, so House Bills 45, 67, 68, and 69. And they are in the Senate Natural Resources Committee. They've already passed the House earlier this year, and with great bipartisan majorities. And you know, we're running into some difficulty getting it out of the Senate committee.
To be honest with you, I thought this would be a slam dunk, but I didn't see the Restaurant Association getting involved at the level that they have.
You know, that's one of the issues. Unfortunately, through these last 2 hearings, they've taken over 3 hours now of testimony, and the sport fishing community hasn't had a chance yet to refute and fill in the blanks on some of the statements that have been made. So, you know, we're literally vibrating in the corner, waiting to get our turn to really tackle some of these issues and questions that have come up that are either misunderstandings or mischaracterizations of our intent on these bills. Our intent is not to put any industry out of business. You know, it is simply to look at a decades-old statute and bring some common sense reforms and best management practices to it, while at the same time protecting our game fish and our local and state economies that depend on them.
You will get a chance, though, to have your say, I hope, right?
That is what the chair says. So hopefully Wednesday again next week, June 24th, we will get a chance. But the commercial industry hasn't gotten to go yet either. So we're still sharing time on the agenda with them. And it's proving to be a challenge to, there's again, a lot of misstatements and questions that we could very well answer. People are trying to put words in our mouths, and you know, that's not a good thing, especially when, you know, we have really, as sport anglers, been the ones that have been the caretakers and the putting our money where our mouths are to restore the Great Lakes to where they are now, that we even have something to fight about. That's been on our backs. And so it's difficult when we know we're going to hear from the industry side that they want a chance at game fish when we are still going to continue. What we would be doing then is subsidizing that industry on the backs of sport anglers.
So you don't want to stop all the commercial fishermen. You just don't want them to have access to game fish.
Correct. Whitefish and all the other species, you know, that are commercially taken are ones that either sport anglers can't get access to because of the depths and the you know, places where they occur, or there's just not enough people that are interested in doing so in order to really create a conflict. So what we've given them in the commercial species list is a market development opportunity. You know, these are the areas where you're not going to meet resistance. But when you talk about lake trout, and it is still in a recovery phase. When you talk about walleye, and we still have a 45-day closure on the season, that's we're not there yet. We're not in a fully restored state, and it has all been our license dollars that have helped with that.
Is there anything sport fishermen can do real quick before we let you go?
At this point, really, we need to call our senators, and our senators need to hear that sport anglers need to see these bills moved as passed by the House, and that we will not tolerate subsidizing this industry by allowing them to harvest game fish to sell. So those are really the messages that we need to send to our state senators.
Amy Trotter, Executive Director of MUCC, always a pleasure. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Mike.
Amy Trotter, Executive Director, MUCC, the website mucc.org, mucc.org. Again, you can save 25% on your MUCC membership by using the promo code Mike, all caps. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, this week's Ask Avery segment, and actually it does involve MUCC as well, coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC AM and FM, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. And you can hear us in, let's go to Marquette, WDMJ 1320 AM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. And a reminder, the way the Ask Avery segment works is, this is your opportunity to shoot a question to me, something that you want me to answer personally, or it's a question I can pass along to somebody else, say, somebody in the DNR or something that you might not be able to get access to, and maybe I can. Feel free to do that. The way you get your questions to me is to email them, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Hit me up on any of the social media platforms, or ask me in person, or through a phone call if you know me well enough. And that's what I've had several people ask me this. It's in regard to my quest to push for the elimination of rod restrictions for trolling anglers on the Great Lakes. And by that, I'm saying I don't think there's a reason to limit it to 3 rods per angler, because the resource will still continue to be protected by daily creel limits and by daily size limits. And for some reason, people are thinking this direction lately, because I've had a lot of people ask me this online. And then my buddy Dave Sherrick called me the other day out of the blue and said, hey, how is that coming? So that's the impetus for this week's Ask Avery segment. It's kind of on hold right now, but I have not given up on it. The way I was trying to do it was, I wanted to get MUCC behind me to back this, so they would take it to the DNR and the NRC on my behalf, like they have done so many other proposed changes. I thought that was the best way to have any oomph behind me. Last year, I went to an MUCC district meeting to present my proposal, and it was approved. So then I had to appear at their annual convention in June, a year ago, in Houghton Lake, where the idea was shot down. It was shot down for a couple of reasons, in my opinion. Number one, I had not been through the process before and didn't fully understand maybe the subtleties, the nuances, maybe even, I got to admit, some of the politics involved. So I didn't present it as well as I could. And some of these people had not heard this before and really hadn't had time to think it through. I did not pursue it this year, and it turns out it was a good idea, because MUCC's convention is going to be online, and it's actually going to be hard to get things through. It is my intent to pick up this cause again next year and see if I can get anywhere with it next year. Because I think it's an unneeded rule. It's unnecessary. And Lord knows we have too many unneeded, unnecessary, extra Fish and Game laws on the books. So again, here's my premise. As a person who oftentimes fishes alone or just with me and one other person on the Angler Quest, I sometimes find it difficult to pattern fish, to find out what they want, how deep they are, colors, yada, yada, yada. When I've got a charter captain run by me who's running 21 rods or whatever he is, I think that he has an advantage of figuring things out faster than I do. And in today's world where time is so limited, I think it only makes sense to maximize people's time while they are enjoying their outdoor pursuit. So, if I'm out there alone on my Angler Quest or you're out there alone on your boat, what does it matter if you run 3 rods or if you run 9 rods? Whatever your boat can handle and whatever your level of experience can handle. What does it matter? Because you're still only going to bring home a certain number of fish, whatever the limit is, and you're still forced by regulations to keep fish of only a certain size. So my contention is it won't hurt the resource. It might help you to catch your fish earlier and be more productive on the water, but where's the problem in that? I think it makes complete sense. And again, it's something I will, as the year progresses here, I'll start pushing that. I'll start pushing that direction more. I think even though I didn't make it for approval at the state level of MUCC, I still like the process. It gave me, Mike Avery, as an individual member of MUCC and an angler. And by the way, I'm not proposing this for pure pier fishermen, shore fishermen, or ice fishermen. Only for Great Lakes trolling anglers. You don't have to worry about somebody coming in and taking over a spot on the pier or the fishing dock or ice fishing. I don't see a downside to it. So it is something I will bring up again. I will push for it again. I will go into this battle. No, it's not a battle. I will go into this goal with a little more knowledge and insight and see if I can't get it done. But I appreciate the fact that MUCC allows a process for individual members who have an idea to push for it. So I appreciate that. So anyway, that's this week's Ask Avery segment. Thank you again to the folks at Security Credit Union, securitycu.org. Feel free to pass along a question for next week's Ask Avery segment. We'll take a break. Hour number 3 coming up in just a few minutes.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Forward Corporation and T.R. McTaggart, Angler Quest Boats, Security Credit Union, Garber Chevrolet, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine show right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. My name is Mike Avery, and I'm so glad to have you along with us. So glad to be, well, first of all, celebrating this Father's Day weekend, right? If you are a father, happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to my father-in-law, Jury, my son, James, and to you. If you are a father, God bless you. You play a very critical role in the family. People look up to you. People rely on you. People depend on you. And I know you're doing a good job. You're doing everything you can to live up to those expectations. So God bless you, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I hope, maybe your plans for this weekend are to go fishing. If so, a lot of good things going on around our state right now. We were talking earlier about walleye fishing, about bass fishing. about musky fishing. But the thing that really, I think, maybe the glory fish of Michigan, and maybe it's my bias or my personal preference, it's got to be the king salmon, the Chinook salmon. Our Lake Michigan salmon fishery has seen some ups and downs over the years. But really, I mean, it's just a world-class fishery. And these last few years have been exceptionally exciting with the big kings that are showing up. Lance Keene is a charter captain out of Manistee, Steelhead Hunter Charters and Trout Scout, troutscout.com. He just came off the water, I think, from a morning trip. He's going to go out again this afternoon, I believe, but he's taking a few minutes to talk with us now. And Lance, I do certainly appreciate it. How are you?
How you doing, Mike?
How was the fishing this morning?
It was really good. It was really good. We caught some kings and we caught a bunch of lake trout.
It's shaping up to be a good season, isn't it?
Oh yeah, there's so much bait out there right now. The fish are going to be bigger than they were last year, so hang on.
Which is saying a lot.
There's already been, I don't know how many 30-pounders caught this year, and in May there was 2 30-pounders caught that I know of.
Wow.
So it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of tackle busted, a lot of stuff broken, and there's going to be some high rewards at the end somewhere along the line.
The department took so much grief when they cut back on their salmon stocking to try to, because they were worried about bait fish, but it seems like the bait fish have really rebounded.
Yep, our lake. Well, everybody knows how high the water is. Well, we got a lot of nutrients in the water. I've never this water out on our bank, and even to 300 feet is emerald green, beautiful, just full of life. And yeah, I think we're gonna have a major rebound on bait. So yeah, get ready for some big fish the next few years.
Oh, see, this is very interesting. I want to follow up on this. So for the longest time, we had absolute gin clear water because of zebra mussels. You're starting to get some color back in it now.
We got lots of color, we got lots of erosion and, shoreline, a lot of stuff. We get rains and our rivers are just maxed out and pumping nutrients down into the lakes. And the lake has looked better than I've seen it in, 10 years.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what are you looking for? Are you looking for the stained water? Are you looking for clear water? Are you looking for that transition?
Yeah, like, I don't know, I guess I could say 6 to 8 years ago, you could see a cannonball down 20, 22, 24 feet, and you're like, holy moly. Now, 7, 6, 7 foot. Yeah, it looks good. And it's not gin clear, that blue clear water. It's emerald green. It's got color. Yeah, it looks like it's living.
Ah, that's wonderful. And I'm glad you added that part about it's living, because I was just thinking as you and I were talking about this, some people are going to be listening to this conversation and go, what are they talking about? The color of the water, and why would that matter? Help us explain that a little bit more.
It does. The plankton and the bugs and the things that, grow to help feed the bait fish, that help feed the salmon. I don't know the technical stuff that's all involved, but I can tell by looking at it that it looks right and it's good and it's helping our bait fish, and our bait fish population is there's bait in the harbor, there's bait in Manistee Lake, there's bait on the shelf, there's bait in 300 feet of water on the bottom. So there's many different classes, and it all looks good, and the fish all have bait in them.
And so this bait, like, you see there's bait up in the harbors, there's bait shallow, there's bait out deep. Are they the same type of bait fish? Are they different types, or what's your sense of what's out there?
They're alewives, but they're the year classes. So like right now we're getting our spawning alewives, which are our big ones, our magnum size. Are 5 to 6, maybe even a little bit bigger, and they go around the pier heads and in the brackish waters like Manistee Lake and things, and they dump their eggs and they spawn, and that's where they reproduce. Where I think, like, I noticed our trout today that we caught out over 100 foot on the bottom, had like 3 inches in it. But you go in the pier heads and you see like 7 inches jumping out of the water. So definitely different year classes and different stages and depths of water column.
Well, and then by knowing the size fish that they're feeding on, probably affects the way you're going to fish for those critters too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yep. We definitely try to match the hatch size-wise, and a lot of it depends on depths. You can match a spoon to an alewife size, pretty easy when you're fishing in the top 80-foot water column. But if you got to fish deeper than that, we usually just run flashers and flies or flashers and meat rigs. But if they're packed full of little 3-inchers, they're working hard for a meal there, but they get 2 or 3 of those big jumbos in there. They're pretty much filled up.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Are you running doubles this time of year? You running a trip this afternoon?
Not this afternoon. We got just one every morning until like Fridays and Saturdays, and we run some doubles and then singles, through the week. We don't really get going too heavy on doubles until about mid-July.
I tell you what, I don't know how you guys do that. Two a day, mode. Week after week. That's grueling.
Yep, it's robot mode. It's at that point. By middle of August, it's such a routine. Your body just reacts. It just knows it's got to get up. It's got to get to Wesco, get a coffee. It's got to get on a boat. It's got to put the lines down. It's got to reel the lines in. It's got to clean the fish. It's got to go take a nap. It's got to do it again.
I was thinking the other day, though, I over here on Saginaw Bay, it had been I fished one day and I couldn't make it out for a couple of more days, and then I went out just yesterday and things had changed. The fish had moved. They weren't as aggressive, whatever, and I was having a hard time getting them dialed in, and I thought that's where guys like you who are out there every day, you've got a big network of people, that's where you shine, because when you're on them every day and you talk to a lot of people, it's a lot easier for you to stay in touch with what's going on.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's hard for me to not fish 2 days and then take a charter. I have to at least go before my charter, the day before, because I feel like I missed out on something. It might not be anything, but I feel like I missed out on something. So I kind of have, I got me and Steve that works for me that runs the 27. We kind of have a golden rule is, if you got a day off and you got to fish in 2 days, you fish the day before your charter, just because it just feels, right when you're going out the next morning going, okay, I know right where I got to go again and blah, blah, blah. So.
No, man, I can relate to that completely. I understand exactly what you're saying, but I also find it interesting. There's a guy who fishes year round, and you're fishing down in the Keys in the wintertime, that if you get a day off, you're still on the water.
Oh yeah, no, I cannot. Yeah, I can't stay on land. I gotta go out and do something. So it's it's kind of. I don't know if it's addicting or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, I feel like if I had a day off right now, I'd be like, where did they go today? Where did the fish move to? What are they biting on today? Why am I not out there? So it's kind of a thing. Okay, I'm definitely gonna fish before every charter, at least. The day before or the evening of or whatever.
Hey, I heard an interesting story just yesterday. I don't know if this is true. That you used to be a walleye guy. You were partnered up with Lance Valentine?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I was partnered, but we fished some tournaments together. Oh yeah. I taught him everything he knows about how to walleye fish.
Good for you.
But yeah, no, when I just got out of high school. I worked at Jan Sports Shop in Goodrich, the old Ranger boat dealership.
Yeah.
And I went to school with Brad's son, and I was like, man, I want to fish tournaments. I want to fish walleye tournaments. And he was a nice guy, and he's like, well, take a boat, go fish the walleye tournaments. So he gave me a brand new 621, fully loaded. I was 18 years old. I had a 2-wheel drive pickup truck, and I traveled all over Michigan and fished walleye tournaments for 2 years.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, and you've been hooked ever since.
Yeah, I mean, we've always fished, me and Dad and my uncles, and we were chasing salmon and steelhead and rivers and lakes, and then we fished a lot of walleyes on the Saginaw River, Saginaw Bay, Detroit River, just like every other northern Michigan gander. That's what you do. You fish where the fish are biting, and you fish the bays, and you fish the big lakes, and you fish the rivers when the fish are in the rivers. So that's what I did, and I just made a career out of it.
Hang on, Lance. I got lots more to ask you, but we got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. We're talking with Lance Keene, of Steelhead Hunter Charters, the website troutscout.com. After the break, I'll ask him about Trout Scout. I know the story behind it, but we'll give you the story after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. You can hear us in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. And you can hear us in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. Manistee is where you'll find Captain Lance Keene. But first, this segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Wilds Plumbing and Heating. From plumbing, heating, air conditioning, sump pumps, cleaning your ductwork, you name it, anything to keep the mechanics of your house running smoothly, to keep you comfortable, to keep you dry. The folks at Wilds can take care of it. Check them out online at wildsplumbingandheating.com. That's wildsplumbingandheating.com. While you are online, please check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and this website, TroutScout.com, TroutScout.com, the website for Steelhead Hunter Charters and Lance Keene. And Lance, I know this whole Trout Scout name comes because you actually bought the business from Gary Schaefer, his old Trout Scout chartering business, right?
Yep. When I got my captain's license, when I turned 21, Gary offered me a job to A, first mate, and then B, run the boat for him. And shoot, I think I was on that boat for about 6 years or so. And then I offered to buy it from him.
And it worked out well for both of you.
Yep. Yeah, no, we're both doing good. Still talk to Gary a lot, and he even comes down and goes fishing in the Keys. So, yeah, all is good.
I know your book's so solid, but man, I got to get down there and fish with you.
I know. You definitely need to come down and you need to just experience it, because people are like, what do you like fishing better, the saltwater or the freshwater? I'm like, you don't even have a clue what saltwater fish do compared to freshwater fish. And if you've never done it or seen it, it's unbelievable.
Better than a big king.
It's the fish you catch and the fight and how aggressive and how they want to just eat everything that they see. Is like, man, if we had this in Michigan or in freshwater, it would be, whew. But yeah, we don't have what they have.
But it is the fight of a big king that people love, right? I mean, that's the glory fish. You can take Lakers all day long, and they're wonderful fish, and they taste good these days, and they actually, a big one will put up a good fight, but nothing like a king.
No, nothing like, a fish, over 20 pounds screaming out 400 to 600 feet of line, and, the battle bringing it back in. That's for sure. That's, and that's what we strive on, is try to go catch big kings or kings in general.
Well, yeah, because actually for people who aren't experienced, you put a 15-pound king on the end of the line, and for a lot of them, that's all they want to handle.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's the truth. You get a diver with all that stuff out there, and you get a big king on, he's ripping all over and going crazy, and yeah, that's a lot for people that are newbies to it.
But it's that 30-pound mark that's kind of the real trophy, and you say you're seeing those fish already.
Well, last year I don't know how many we caught. It was, plentiful. Let's put it that way. I bet between both boats, I bet we caught, more than a dozen of them.
No kidding.
Yep.
Can that 40-pound mark, can that be broken this year?
I don't know. Probably. If it ain't, let's see, what year are we? 2020, 18. I bet the year of the 22, is it 22 class? Yeah, I bet the year of the 22 class is where you're going to see it.
Really?
Yep. If everything, is the way it's going and looking out there, that 2018 class was big.
40-pound fish, that's old Lake Ontario numbers. We used to hear it coming out of Lake Ontario.
Right. Man. But it sounds like they're going the other way now.
Everything runs in cycles, though, right?
Oh, no, it's all cycles. Yep, it's all cycles. some years you're going to catch 20, and they're all going to be 10-pounders, and some years you're going to catch 2 or 3, and they're all going to be 30-pounders.
Yeah, but you guys this year, I mean, you're catching big fish, but you're also getting pretty good numbers, aren't you?
When the scenarios are right, yeah. In end of May, we were catching a lot of them, and they were, 15, 18-pounders. We had a little east wind action that you were talking about. I think that came and screwed a lot of things up for everybody.
Yeah.
And the full moon, that didn't really help us any. And so, yeah, we're just waiting on a little southwesterly, which we're getting this week, and things every day are getting better and better.
That's what it takes, isn't it? A lot of times you need a weather pattern to set up and then get stable, and then things kind of get back to normal.
You need to get your conditions where you can catch your fish or there's fish to be caught, and then you need it to stabilize. And, stabilize was good for a few days, and if it's too stable for too long, it kind of wears down, but then before that front hits, then look out because they go nuts again.
With the water having a little color these days, are you fishing these kings differently? Do you have to be less stealthy than you did when it was crystal clear?
No. We're still catching, we're running 2 divers aside with flashers, 3 riggers. And, you're still catching them on your coppers and lead cores. For some reason, it seems like a black paddle is working better this year than it ever has. We were running a lot of chrome-colored paddles and spin doctors and things like that. And it could be just a timing thing or a mood thing or something, but maybe there's something with that emerald green water that they like that black with that glow laser tape paddle for some reason.
I bet it wouldn't break your heart if you could get by without ever running lead core or copper again.
Yeah, if I can just run my 4 divers and my 3 riggers, and I can. That's my program, and I like to fish them. I like to fish deeper because, the lighting is not as penetrating down that far, and you can usually catch them throughout the morning instead of everything happening in the first hour and a half and then dying out.
See, that's the other big thing. I'm glad you brought that up. That's one reason I love walleye fishing is I don't have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to catch fish.
I know. It kills me. I wish I could. Back in the day when the water was dirty like this, they never had to go out. They go out at 7 o'clock in the morning and they'd catch them, So maybe one of these years I'll be able to sleep in.
With your personality, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
No, it's pretty hard. It's on an internal alarm clock, so it just wakes up, and when it's time to go to bed, it's time to go to bed.
Now, during the middle of the day, traditionally, king's action for salmon isn't that great. Where do those fish go? Do they drop down deep and just become, I don't want to say dormant, but not feed for a while?
Yeah, they just go negative or neutral, and I think they just take their pec fins and they just coast down the edge of the drop, get down there where it's comfortable, your temperature, speed of current, lighting, whatever you want to call it. Now, I'm not saying they all do it, but I think when they come up and put that feed on, and then, the big sun comes up and they're like, yep, time to digest and time to just slide off where it's nice and quiet and there's no boats running over me, no downrigger cables bouncing off me. And they just kind of slide off that drop off, and who knows how deep they really could go. They could go, who knows, 400 feet. I don't know. You don't mark them. You mark them good, and then all of a sudden they just disappear. Well, they don't come to the surface and sun themselves. I can guarantee you that.
You think that boat traffic does play a role?
Yeah, I do. I think they can sense it, feel it. But when the conditions are perfect too, you can catch them usually in that boat traffic. We've all been to Big Salvo Point at times with 400 boats, or in the harbor with 400 boats, or wherever. And everybody's catching them, and you're like, holy moly, look at this.
It's just amazing when you think about that, and I see the same thing over here with walleye. When you think about how many boats are out there and how many fish each boat is catching, the size of these fisheries is almost mind-boggling.
Oh yeah, I check down at the city there, the fish cleaning station. They put the fish in the drums and freeze them, and then they make cat food or whatever out of them. And it's just like you go in there and there's like 20, 50 5-gallon barrel drums of just fish every day. It's like, look at all the fish. I mean, that just keep coming out day after day after day. And this is just one port.
Do you think you're going to be forced to go after steelhead midsummer this year, or is that something you actually like to do?
I like doing it. I do like catching them in the river better, so I try not to go out there if I don't have to. They're like our pets in the river, you know. You can catch them and catch them and catch them again, and they just keep coming back, you know. But I've been looking at the temperature charts. Granted, an east wind doesn't help anything for setting up a break offshore. I don't know, with this week, you know, our whole week and temperatures high like this and west wind, it might warm up too fast. You know,
yeah.
I don't know if it's going to happen or not.
Well, plus when you start making 25-mile runs offshore, it cuts into your profits too because you're putting more fuel in.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, yeah, nobody wants to run, you know, more than 10 miles. 10 miles that's a truck, you know, for a charter boat. Not that I wouldn't do it if there, you know, that was the best option, but right now there is a slight break out there. There's some, you know, littler guys been going out there that I've been talking to, and, you know, 2 to 4 fish, steelhead, a lake trout, maybe a little coho. So it's not set up, which it's not tight. You know, it's not a tight break. It's not close together. There's not scum on it. There's not debris, bugs, blah, blah, blah. So it's really not ready, but it hasn't really had a chance to get ready because of the wind direction.
And we're still, I mean, when I think about it, we're still early in the season yet. There's a lot of good fishing to come.
Oh yeah. No, things are just kind of getting going. We've just had good fishing because we had some A, bait, and some B, some, you know, colored water along our shoreline this spring, which made our fishing, you know, take off pretty early. Yeah, this is real early. You know, our offshore steelhead fishing shouldn't really even be starting until, probably about the weekend, you know, coming up to after July 4th, and then our kings should be showing back up good, but it seems like we got a little bit of everything right now. Yeah,
and good for that. Hey, how's your summer looking? If we go to the website, troutscout.com, can we book trips with you right there?
Yep, we got some openings July and August, you know, for our adult kings, and then look out for our coho fishery this year. Should touch base on that because of with the COVID shutdown and no boating from, you know, like April. Those guys down in Michigan City and St. Joe, and didn't really get to pick on all those cohos that come through Manistee.
Lance, I got to let you go. Listen, when that turns on, get back to me. We'll do a show then again. Lance Keene from Steelhead Hunter Charters, website troutscout.com. Troutscout.com, one of the best guys out there. Check him out. Troutscout.com. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Muskegon on WKBZ. That's 1090 AM. You can hear us in Port Huron on WPHM 1380 AM. And on our flagship stations, WSGW AM and FM in Saginaw, 790 AM, 100.5 FM. And again, I never any disrespect to any of our affiliate stations, but I work very closely with the folks at WSGW. I'm in their studios right now. Of course, while I'm here, it's called the Outdoor Magazine Studio. And Charlie Rood here doing a wonderful job, as always, as he turns to wave to the rush of the adoring crowd. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reeder Landscaping. They can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Right now, they're talking about water features. We actually have a water feature. It's like a mini waterfall in our backyard that the folks from Reeder put there. And to be honest, for us, it's kind of a buffer for road noise, and it's just very soothing, very, very nice. Also, perimeter pest control. Stop those creepy, crawly things from getting into your house with perimeter pest applications from Reeder Landscaping. And Reeder is, I found out they're doing a lot more work, what I'm going to call up north, for vacation properties in the northern part of the state, so they can take care of your primary residence plus your vacation property as well. Check them out online at reederlandscaping.com. That's reederlandscaping.com. I actually kind of forgot about this, but happy first weekend of summer to you. Kind of a big weekend, huh? First weekend of summer. Father's Day weekend. Happy Father's Day to you, dads. When I was talking to Lance Keene of Trout Scout, Steelhead Hunter Charters, about salmon fishing on Lake Michigan, it kind of brought back a lot of memories to me, because that's when I was a young kid, I used to, fish for trout in the small creeks and rivers with my dad. And then as we got older, we kind of got into, he got into big lake fishing first and then kind of dragged me into it. My first trip fishing for Lake Michigan salmon was out of Manistee, and I think it was 1968-ish. It was like the first or second year that the salmon came into the ports there. And I vaguely remember this, and there are a couple of pictures of it to help me remember this, but it was me and my dad. We were fishing with my aunt and uncle, and it was probably about a 17 or 18-foot fiberglass ski boat. And the rods and reels were probably like saltwater reels. They were like a cue stick with big Dacron loaded reels. And of course we were trolling flatfish, right? And we got two kings. And me being the kid on the boat, they let me reel them in. In fact, I got pictures on my website of me in my baseball uniform holding up these two great big kings. And you think about how far that fishery has come, how far we have come, how far I have come. It's pretty cool. Haven't spent much time over there lately. I have to be honest. Since my dad is gone, I've kind of lost my heart for salmon fishing, because that's what we did. And even to this day, and he's been gone a few years now, even to this day, it just kind of wouldn't seem right. I know he would say, oh my gosh, don't be a dummy. Go enjoy it. Go have fun. But it just wouldn't seem right, I think, doing it without him. So listen, if your dad is still around, enjoy him. Thank him. Not only for being a leader of the family, for all the hard work, just helping to teach you things. In my case, it was teaching me a lot of sports. It was teaching me how to hunt and fish. Maybe in your case, it's, teaching you how to frame a wall or to, work on a car, whatever it is. So I hope you have a wonderful Father's Day weekend. And I hope you enjoy this first full weekend of summer. My wife Denise and I were talking just the other day. Isn't it cool that it stays light so long now? You can get an awful lot done in a day right now. In fact, my energy runs out before the daylight does. Also want to put in a plea here. When you get a chance, please check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, kind of the clearinghouse for all things Outdoor Magazine and Mike Avery Outdoors. And please check out the Wednesday night live program that I do online. This is live on Facebook, live on YouTube, live on Vimeo. I'm working on LinkedIn as well, and any place else I can get it live at the same time. This past week, we had Nick DeShano of Offshore Tackle on with us to talk about some of their products and to explain how to use their easy crankbait tuning tool, which I needed to watch that because I honestly have a hard time figuring out how to use it. It's a great tool. And Nick explains how and shows us how. That Wednesday night live video, if you can't watch it live, is on YouTube and Facebook, and you can check it out later. Doing a new Angler Quest podcast this week with Captain Andy Gorski of Frank's Great Outdoors. He's a relatively new Angler Quest owner. And then also another Killer Food Plots podcast with Nick Percy of Killer Food Plots. So lots of things going on. A lot of fishing as we're here in the studio right now. I'll be back on Saginaw Bay tomorrow, hoping for a little bit better cooperation from the fish than I had the last time I was out, which was yesterday. And I promise you this time, I'm not going to leave fish to find fish. And if the weather forecast calls for a little bit of wind, I'm not going to cancel the trip based on that. Two mistakes I've made in the past week that I know better than to do, and I did them anyway. You'd think I'd be smarter by now. Give me a few more years. Maybe it'll sink in. Give me a few more years. We'll take a break. Wild Game Chef Dave Miner coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. My name is Mike Avery. Glad to have you along with us as we celebrate this history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle here in our great state of Michigan and occasionally beyond. The outdoors doesn't stop at our state lines. I understand that. I've been trying to get Wild Game Chef extraordinaire Dave Miner out on the Angler Quest with me, and he's just been too busy to make it happen. However, talking with Dave off the air, he says there's a good chance maybe we can get out here in the next week or so. David, that would make my day. Let's make that happen.
It would more than make my day. I would just be ecstatic. I've been wanting to do it, and just with work and everything, but looks like we're going to shoot for right after the 4th of July to open back up. We're going to wait and see what happens. So I know I've talked to people that have restaurants, and they've got infection of COVID. They had to close back down. We're just going to try to avoid that. We're going to see how it goes. Thank you.
Well, that would be wonderful. Listen, keep us informed about that so we know, so we can come and see you.
I will. We're gonna. We're getting forward to looking forward to getting open.
Oh, I bet. And if I come and see you, one of the things I'm going to want is some crawdaddies.
You got it. I owe you for crawdads, too. We did something not that long ago, and I forgot to bring them to you.
Oh, well, I didn't even notice. So you're forgiven. But listen, I find it interesting that we can find these little critters right here in Michigan, and we can cook them up on our own.
Sure. I was telling you one other time that when I was a kid, we used to go to Fletcher's Pond a lot, and my dad had made these small wire traps, and he would bait it with either a piece of like a chunk of dead bluegill or something that we had caught, and we would put them in the shallow water, and we would get them, and it was like a little kind of a trap kind of a thing, like a crab trap, and so you can buy crawdads at some of the good fish markets. They sell them fresh, but catching your own is pretty easy. Or you can wade through the water at night with a headlight in a small net in a little stick, and you can shoo them in backwards into your net, because they move backwards when they're trying to get away from something. So you can get them. We used to do that too. So between that, we used to have crawfish boils, and what you could do, take about a pot of water, where you can place a strainer over the top of it, and so you want to suspend it above the water. So you want to take some water in a bottle of beer. Make sure you're careful, because beer, when you put it in hot, it wants to boil up and kind of really steam over. So, and you could take some Old Bay seasoning or Cajun spice and sprinkle it on top. And when the water's boiling real nice, put the strainer on top, put the crawdaddies in it, and then put a cover on it. It only takes about 10 to 15 minutes tops, and so as the old saying goes, you pinch the tail and suck the heads. And so what you do is you twist the tail away from the body, and you hold it upside down between your two fingers, and you bend it backwards, and it pops open, and then you can just pull that meat right out of there. And then the Louisiana and Mississippi people and stuff, they'll take that the body part, and you suck the juices out of that. It's really good. I love that too. So you can take the little shell meat there. It looks just like a small shrimp almost, and you can dip it in melted butter, or you could with a little bit of lemon maybe, or cocktail sauce, or just suck them up as fast as you can go. So like I said, it only takes just a couple of minutes after you steam them to let them cool down just a little bit, a minute or three. Now, on the tails, if you got enough of them left over, you could take, as I explained to you, how to take the meat out of the tail, and you could sprinkle the meat with some cayenne pepper, and then roll them in drakes. So you want to take some beer, or you could use just water, and use Zatarain's or Drake's mix. Make a thin batter, and so you want to go into the dry Drake's or Zatarain's, into the beer batter, the light stuff, back into the dry. Shake them off real good and drop them in one of them little small deep fryers, or you could use an electric fry pan set at 350 with an inch or so of oil. And I'm telling you what, that's the way you like them. Just like that. Drain them on a paper towel, and if you like them a little more spicy, a little more cayenne. But be careful, they're going to go fast. People just love them. They eat them like popcorn.
They are like popcorn. They're addicting. Maybe a little cocktail sauce on the side. Oh, my goodness, Dave. I never, the first time you made those up for me, I fell in love with them. Now, everybody that comes in there and tries them said these things are just addicting. The problem is, you can eat so many of them. You need so many of those little critters to make a good appetizer out of them.
I know, fish love them, bass, pike, everybody eats them in the water, and so do we. I tell you what, I just love them. I make a lot of different dishes, Cajun dishes, and add either the meat or the whole crawdads in it, When we do, like an Alfredo, we do a Cajun kind of Alfredo, it's got shrimp, scallops, and crawdads in them and mussels, and people just love that, too.
Well, wonderful. We're going to get you on the water before you open up Oscar and Joey's, and I'm hoping that's going to happen real soon, and you and I will talk again soon. Thanks, Dave.
So we're shooting for after the 4th of July, so we're going to see how things go. Hopefully everything is going to keep calm.
Sounds good. Wild game chef extraordinaire Dave Miner, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you. Glad to have you along with us. Hey, during the week, you can always reach me. My email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. The website is mikeaveryoutdoors.com, and you can check out any of the social media outlets, including our Wednesday Night Live. And I think that just about covers it. Happy Father's Day. Happy opening weekend of summer. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.